For me, doing stand-up has almost ruined my public speaking, where I've been conditioned to speak and expect a response.
It's actually the most British thing you can do.
13 and a half years, like 2,500 gigs. I'm conditioned to that now.
How did you deal with that?
Mufti Menk stays kind of quite politically neutral, and then people have criticised him for that. But I'm like, you don't know what he's doing behind closed doors. Mufti Menk probably gets in spaces and behind doors that we would never get behind. And the reason he does that, it's a lonely place, bro, like stand-up. Sometimes you have those horrible shit gigs when you're in a room full of people, audience are laughing. You're like, man, this is tough, this.
In the Asian community, there's a lot of stigma. They might say, like, why are you doing this? How did you deal with that?
Salam.
It's comedy, like, say jokes and stuff. Are those jokes, some of them your own, or is it written beforehand?
It's a mixture of two things, obviously.
So what is going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Visionation Success Stories podcast. So my guest with me today is the one and only Tez Ilyas. How are you, brother?
So I'm good, bro. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for having me.
What brings you down here today, other than this?
Well, I'm in the middle of this human appeal tour, and so we're in Birmingham today. I thought I'd jump on with my boy, innit?
Yeah, you're just across the road.
Literally across the road.
Yeah, welcome to the...
Didn't know you had this penthouses in this apartment block. Otherwise, I would have taken you up on this offer. That came too late.
Maybe next time, inshallah.
Next time.
Okay, so let's get straight into it without much time. But so obviously you've covered a lot of your growing up and all that kind of stuff on the Mint to Mind podcast, and just now we had with Shaz as well. Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to speak more about what kind of, obviously you got into comedy around 2010, right?
Yeah.
So before that, did you have any sort of like traits or inclination? Obviously you look back now, you probably see it, but that you were like kind of a comedian or comic?
I was definitely the class clown at school.
Yeah.
And I always had a big mouth, which always got me in trouble at school. So I was a guy who would heckle assembly, or you know when the teacher's doing assembly and they ask a rhetorical question. So ask a question that doesn't need an answer. I'll be the guy shouting out the answer.
Yeah.
So I always had that in me a little bit, that sort of obnoxious trait of like having my voice heard and stuff. I think that's kind of always been there. And then throughout school, even though I was kind of quite a smart kid in that, I actually quite like school, and I got decent grades and stuff, but always with the big mouth. And I got put on report 3 times for my big mouth. Other people got put on report for fighting and like bunking school and all that stuff, innit? Mine was always for my mouth. Just didn't know how to shut up. Probably some sort of ADHD traits there maybe or something, but yeah, I was always like trying to make people laugh on that. And then at uni, kind of found an outlet with my friends and stuff, had a bit of fun. And then, yeah, by the time I got to like 27 and started doing stand-up, yeah, by that time I didn't really have any inclination or sort of dreams to do stand-up or anything. This kind of came, it was a happy, very, very happy accident. But then my friends, at least the ones I went to uni with, who knew me probably the best, who knew me better than everyone else, they weren't that surprised.
Yeah. How was it for you, like, then when you started the stand-up, right? You said it was just a happy kind of thing that you would just do. You didn't think that it would like, progress any further than that. So was that because of kind of like failures you might have faced at the start, or was it just in general you thought like, you know what, this is not that serious? As one Asian might typically think of kind of career.
Yeah. No, well, I think when I started it, I had that fantasy and those dreams of like, Allah, imagine never gonna have the Apollo on that. Oh, God, imagine never gonna walk the weekend. No, that'd be wicked, bro. So there were those like sort of fantasies that you had that in your mind and stuff. But when I said I meant before I started doing stand-up, like there was no sort of, I didn't have any inclination that I'll end up doing comedy or becoming an artist or anything like that until I went and did that comedy course and did that showcase and started stand-up, started gigging on the amateur circuit in London. At that point, I was like, no, you know what, this could work out, that'd be amazing. And they had the back of your mind of like, you know, the things that you've seen people do on TV and stuff, and you think, yeah, maybe I could do that. Like if they can do it, maybe I can do it. If I work hard and I keep improving and I keep doing what I need to be doing and stuff, maybe that might happen for me one day. But like before I joined the comedy circuit, or before I started doing stand-up, I had no idea how anything worked. I didn't know how big the circuit was. I didn't know there was an amateur open mic circuit. Like if you like, the people that we saw on TV back in the day, like say like a Jason Manford or something, I would have no idea how Jason Manford gigs, where he gigs, where he tries stuff out, how he tours, agent, anything. I had zero clue. I had no contacts in the industry. So I don't know how anything worked. And I had to learn all of that, as well as doing comedy and trying and writing jokes and trying them out. I had to also learn all about the business side of it and how the circuit actually worked and Edinburgh Fringe and how all that stuff worked, because I knew nothing. I had no contacts.
So, like you said, you learned most of it like pretty much through like trial and error. You just on the job experience. But
Completely.
did you ever come to the points where like you're just like, you know what, this is not for me?
No, I mean, sometimes you have those horrible shit gigs where like no one's laughing and you're like, I'm a fraud, man. What am I doing, man? Like, I'm going to these I'm going to these pubs and clubs. I don't drink. I'm trying to make strangers laugh for no money. And when you get them odd nights where it flops, you're like, what am I doing, man? Like, why am I wasting my time? Like, I could just be at home or chilling or just out with my mates somewhere. Instead I'm trying to do whatever the hell this is. And the chances of making it are like slim. So like, what am I wasting my time for? But then, your next gig, you smash it and that, and you think, oh, no, I'm wicked at that. Yeah, no, I'm good at this. So it's very up and down because it's a lonely place, bro. Like stand up, when you're in your room full of people laughing, it's a buzz in it. But in that odd gig, especially not so much now, but in the early days when I had less experience and the audience aren't laughing, or they're not laughing anywhere near as much as you want them to, or they were the night before or something, you're like, man, this is tough, this. But you got to keep going. As you have those shit days. Everyone who's ever had a job will have great days of work and crap days of work. And even if you work for yourself, you're an entrepreneur, or if you're a trader, or whatever you do, you'll have good deals and bad deals, or middle deals. And stand-up is very much the same. Like you'll have, or even like, sport, like your favorite sports people will have days where like they're world class. The reason why you love them and that. And then have days where they have stinkers. You're sent off in the 10th minute, or they make a mistake, or they miss a penalty, or they make a mistake, or they let a goal in or something. Like that happens to everyone, no matter what level you're at. If you're at the bottom level or the top level, it'll happen to everyone. Like there's referees making mistakes on VAR. Those are trained professionals. So stand-up's the same, but it's just a bit more exposing because you're in front of all these people. It's a bit basty in it. It's a bit embarrassing. When you're trying to make them laugh, that's what they're there for, and then they don't laugh. You're like, oh, what am I doing?
Yeah, it's the perseverance that gets you through it as well.
Completely. It's an underrated, I'm glad you said that word, such an underrated trait, perseverance. Because there are people that I started with back in the day that might have been more talented than me. There were a couple of people that were more talented than I was when I started, but they didn't persevere, or they didn't have that drive maybe, or they didn't have that sort of, or those bad gigs really got to them and they didn't know how to cope with like the resilience. Another great word. Like the resilience to get through the horrible gigs, or the horrible days at work, or the horrible deals, or the deal that loses you money, or the deal that falls through after you've set your heart on it. You have to be able to get past that.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest trait. Even like you mentioned with the example about football and stuff, like they always say, even that kind of category, like talent only gets you so far, but like putting the work in day and out is what separates
and
you
even
from
then,
the rest
no
of
matter
it.
how hard you work, you'll have bad days.
Yeah.
Like, all of favorite players, Messi, Ronaldo, whoever you might like in between, whoever plays for your favorite club, Saka, whatever, they've all missed penalties. They've all missed open nets. They've all fluffed a one-on-one. And those are the best players in the world. So it happens.
Yeah. I think that's probably where you learn your most as well. Like from yours, like you had like a bad audience or something, and you forgot what you was gonna say, or your mind went blank. This is at the start, like that's probably what taught you the most. And the next time when it comes to that situation, you overcame it. And that's pretty much what we always talk about on the podcast as well. And it's a bit different because you're a comic, and we never had a comic on our show before, so it's a bit different, and different perspective. And obviously coming from an Asian background as well, and I can tell from watching your podcast with Minty Mind as well, like in the Asian communities there's a lot of stigma and all that stuff. They might say like, oh, why are you doing this? Go be a doctor, go be a lawyer, this, that. But I can tell with your character, you probably just ignored all that sound and just gone on straight with it. How did you deal with that?
Yeah, but also because I was living in London, I have no family in London.
Okay.
Everyone's up north or in Pakistan. So I didn't have anyone to tell me to stop. So I was able to do it without anyone's permission, really, without anyone's blessing. It's my own blessing and my own permission. So I was able to do it for as long as I wanted to do it. And by the time I got to the point where I was leaving my job to do it full time, I also left London to make it work financially. So all my money wasn't going towards rent in London. And by that point, I kind of was earning enough money. And really, that's all your parents really care about. If you're earning enough halal kamai, if you're earning enough money that's not illegal, they don't really care what you do for a living. Obviously, there's more jobs that they can show off to their friends about. My son's this or my son's that, which is easier for them sometimes in their conversations with their friends. But if you're making good money and you're doing it in a non-illegal way, they don't really care what you do.
I think it's good as well. Like you said, you didn't have that kind of negativity around you pushing you down. But also, a lot of people are supportive. I'm assuming some of your, probably a lot of your families are a lot of supportive as well, and in the things that you do. So that can have a massive effect as well. When someone's supportive in what you're doing and it's not usually the norm, that's going to push you even further. Rather than
especially my friends that I made at uni. A lot of them were in London. The friends that I made in my job as well. And I feel like people in London, people who either live in London or come from London or move to London, have a slightly different mindset of like, yeah, go and do that weird thing. Yeah, go and try it out. Go and see what happens in it. No, go on, you could do it. Whereas if in a place like, if I was doing that from Blackburn, I'd have had that sort of like, oh, bro, what are you doing, man? What do you mean you're going to be a comedian and that? God, are you mental, man? What are you on about? You're not even that funny, man. Like, why are you doing that? Like, what, you're going to be like a Peter Kay or something? Nah, you're not a Peter Kay, bro. What are you doing that for? Like, every footballer has to be Messi or Ronaldo. You don't have to be. You don't have to be Messi or Ronaldo to be a good footballer. You don't have to be as good as Peter Kay to be a comedian. You don't have to be as funny as, I don't know, Chunks or whatever to be a YouTuber. Like, it's fine. You just do you in it.
Yeah, it just proves the environment is very important as well. Like, I have a few
very important
friends.
Everyone's supportive now.
Yeah.
You know what I love about my friends at home? They don't care, bro. They don't give a fuck. It never comes up. So the boys that I grew up with, that I went to school with, that I play football with, that I grew up playing football with, the ones that we used to argue about why Spurring United, this, that, yeah, all those boys don't care. Yeah. And I love that.
Yeah. That's good for you. I know what you mean, because when you go to these,
keeps me grounded.
You know, social with your friends and stuff, no one talks about it. You're just
a
normal person, you know what I mean?
Talk about what we always talk about. Yeah. They might ask, like, very, very rarely, though, not even every time I meet them, they might ask a question about something, but they never get into it. They don't care. So I'm just normal Tez to them, innit? The guy they grew up with. And I love that.
Yeah. Like with the, like you said, like you moved to London, so that kind of changed your environment on it, and you know, you're not getting that negativity into you. And I think that discourages a lot of people. I think with our generation, like obviously you're a bit older, like with the generations coming up now, it's more going away a little bit. We don't need to become westernized, but like more of that kind of fear is going away, and to the point that, you know, let's try this, let's try that, because life's not linear. Like when you're growing up, we think like, you know, college, university, this, that.
Completely. And you guys have a lot more inspiration from social media. So you guys are on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube, and so you see people doing unusual things or taking big risks and then paying off. I don't have that. Like, so the creatives that you see now and artists that you see now putting their work online, the YouTubers, the TikTokers, the Instagrammers and all that, that didn't exist. Like, there were very, very, very early YouTubers back in the day, very early. I know, like Hamza Diver Badman. And they were like one of one. Do you know what I mean? What he was doing then, no one was doing. Or like that Lily Singh Superwoman in Canada, she was one of one. There weren't a lot of people doing that. And so when you want to do something a bit unusual, people are going to be like, nah, man, come on. What a waste of time. Or if it doesn't bang immediately, it's easy to get discouraged. Because anyone who's created a business knows it takes hard work and perseverance and resilience to do well at those things, and to do them in a way that if you do it for a while, it becomes successful. But initially, when you start any venture, and obviously unless you get very lucky and luck does play a part, things take time and hard work and setbacks. Yeah. And if you don't have setbacks, what are you going to learn?
Yeah. Like you said, you know, you mentioned that I think it was, how long has it been? So it's 2010. So you've been started in 2010. I think you said when you started The stand-up stuff, was it 6 years or something you said from the start to?
Yeah. So between
that's
my first gig and leaving work, it was 6.5 years.
6.5 years, yeah. So like all that time, no one sees that. We'll just see what you are now. It's like, oh, this is Tez Ilyas. Look, he's a comedian. It's so funny, like, you know what I mean? But they wouldn't have seen all that time where you going around not getting paid for your gigs. No one knew who you were at that time, you know. And it's
just learning how to do it.
Just learning how to do it.
Like an apprenticeship.
Yeah.
And like you know, like leaving work and going to a gig and then leaving the gig at 11 and then going home, trying to get a bite to eat on the way home, going to bed thinking about the gig, so you're not sleeping straight away, and then you get up in the morning to go to work, and no one saw any of that. Yeah. Well, my friends did, but you know what I mean, like.
But did you think like, this is where I want to go, this is where I want to reach, or was it just every day was a new day, like you were just focusing on the next day?
Yeah, like things were always had like steady incremental successes. So I always had like every few weeks or months like something else that made me think, oh, I should carry on doing this. I think if I went through like a 2-year, 3-year period where nothing good happened or no progress was made, that might have been a bit tricky, I think.
Yeah.
But every few months there was another incremental success that made me just jump up a rung on the ladder.
Yeah, because normally, typically, like with entrepreneurs and stuff, you know, you have like your vision, and you know, this is kind of where I want to reach, even if it's not monetary, some sort of like level of success, and every day you just work towards that. But then you're building in like years rather than days. Like, you know, you're not.
Yeah, of course.
You're just going through that, and that's.
And I'm not where I want to be.
Yeah, of course.
There's definitely rungs on the ladder that I want to climb up, and I get to like a higher level than I am now. If I don't, it is what it is. You know, I've come to a more philosophical position about life now that I'm older. That I'm like, you know, what's written for me will happen. If it's not written for me, it won't happen. But I keep trying. So there are still rungs on the ladder that I want to climb, and there are ambitions that I haven't yet achieved. So I'll keep trying. But in my mind, the journey's been amazing. And I think about how hard I've worked over the last 13 and a half years is mad. I couldn't do it again, I don't think.
Yeah. It's just about being content with yourself as well, you know?
Yeah. Like I need to put probably the same amount of effort I put in when I first started stand-up, those first 4 or 5 years where I really worked hard, bro, like a dog in it in this industry. Like I need to now apply that same level of work ethic to online. Understanding how online works and editing and creating content specifically for online. But I can't do it, man.
Yeah. It's different when they're starting and you're more hungry. When you're working your way through, that's why they always talk about the journey is the most important. That's what you enjoy the most. Because when you're going through it and you're not successful, that's when you enjoy the most. And then when you reach it, you think back like, you know, that was the time I was most hungry.
Yeah.
But yeah, just to touch on like, so obviously you do stand up, and I'm quite into public speaking. I've done it like once maybe. And I have a few people on that done public speaking, something I want to get into. And obviously doing this podcast is kind of building me towards it with the confidence stuff. But obviously, I don't know if you can tell, but I'm naturally an introvert. Like growing up, bro, you could never be like, I was just quiet, reserved, don't speak unless I'm spoken to.
I wouldn't have guessed that super, like I'm not saying that, oh, I can't believe you're not a public speaker.
Yeah.
But because that's not for everyone, but I wouldn't have guessed that you were super shy.
Yeah, I always was growing up. And obviously I thought, like I explained to you off camera, like this is the reason I started this. I wanted to network, want to get out there. And the next goal for me is like in the future is like public speaking and stuff. But normally I speak to public speakers, like they're all naturally been, you know, able to speak in front of crowds, and like not many people are like, well, there are quite a few that are introverted naturally, and they've like overcome their fears and done it in front of people. But you said like growing up you was quite loud and, you know, talkative and stuff. So did you ever have like stage fright or like stuff like that when you was going on stage? Because I think one thing for public speaking is you're delivering, like you're still telling a story, but you're delivering something, and you don't need a reaction from the crowd. At the end of it, they might like it, they might not. You don't need them to laugh. You don't need to react to them and adapt to them. But for you, it's like 10 times harder because you have to react to the crowd, and, you know, you have to take their energy and then give it back. So I couldn't imagine how daunting that was, but obviously you might have been well equipped for it to begin with as well.
Weirdly, that aspect of it has never been an issue for me. Stage fright has never been a thing. Don't get me wrong, there are gigs I get nervous for, and some gigs mean more than other gigs do. And so the bigger the gig is, or if it's on television, or you got friends and family in the audience, that lends itself to being more nervous. But I don't get stage fright though. You can put me in front of any audience, and I'll be fine. Stand-up wise.
Yeah.
If you then said to me, oh, you have to deliver a speech at a peace summit at the UN, that's a whole different kettle of fish in it. Like that's different. That's outside of my comfort zone. Like for me, like doing stand-up has almost ruined my public speaking, Because now because think about it, I've been conditioned to speak and expect a response. Speak, expect a response. Speak, expect a response. Speak, expect a response for 13 and a half years, for like 2,500 gigs. I'm conditioned to that now. Yeah. So if I have to deliver a straight speech, I would find it probably in the moment while I'm delivering it, I'll probably get flustered because I'm so conditioned to get a feedback loop just to let me know that I'm doing all right.
Yeah.
Because that's what stand-up does. Stand-up, every 30 seconds, you're like, yeah, you're doing all right, carry on. Yeah, you're doing all right, carry on. Yeah, we're all enjoying this, carry on. Whereas if I was doing a straight speech, you wouldn't have that feedback loop. So I'd have no idea how it's going. And then my brain would be like, oh, are they hating it? What's going on? Are they not enjoying it? Oh no, crack a joke, crack a joke so you know that they're listening. Like that's what would be happening in my brain while I'm talking. So I think, not that I do many like straight public speaking at all, actually, but the couple of times when I still had my day job, and even at that point I'd been doing it for like 4, 5, 6 years maybe, like doing speeches at work or doing like a presentation at work or something, I found quite tricky because my brain wanted feedback.
Yeah. I think it'd be good though if you was doing that because you'd be able to throw some jokes in there, keep them in the
Yeah, maybe, but it's not always appropriate.
Yeah.
Depending on what the speech is and stuff.
UN speech.
Yeah. So luckily no one really asks me to do many like straight speeches and stuff. It's not something I really have to worry about and stuff. But it's interesting though. That I think I find it quite hard though.
Yeah. I think it was anything like I said, there's a lot of public speakers out there that probably were introverted, but the way they learn is just throwing themselves in there and overcoming it that way.
The only way you can do anything is by trying it a lot of times. Like it's not even enough to try it once. You can't try it once and be like, I'm a public speaker now. Yeah. Because if you do stuff infrequently, those nerves won't go away. You'll be as nervous and as frightened every single time it happens because your experiences are too far apart. Whereas if you do something frequently, then you learn how to control those nerves a lot better. And then you have like recent experience to draw upon. You're like, oh yeah, I just did it last week though, and that was fine. This will be fine.
Yeah. So the next thing I wanted to go on to was you covered a bit on with Shaz as well, like your kind of topics that you talk about when you're doing your comedy, and you have like your audience more for the mainstream and then more like the Desi people and stuff. And I think it's very important, like the way you do it with the mainstream audience, you kind of, like you said, you subvert what you're saying, and you kind of teach them as well. You teach them how it's supposed to be, and they might have a kind of perception or stereotype about it, but then you do it in a way where it makes them laugh and it also gives them a lot of understanding. Is that something that you thought about beforehand, that you want to make them understand a little bit better, or was it just...
Yes and no. I think again it's a secondary thing for me. First and foremost, I just want to entertain people. I want them to go away thinking that guy was well funny, innit? He made us laugh. But then if they also have a thing in their head where they're like, oh yeah, and it was interesting as well, or yeah, it made me think about that, then that's a bonus. It's a nice bonus. Yeah. But it's not wide. I don't do this to teach people. But just the way I write, it's the way I formulate ideas in my head, it's the way I write my jokes and structure my material, that it kind of has that element in it. And so that's just the way my brain functions. But first and foremost, I want people to be entertained and to think, that guy's a funny bastard. And then if they also have that sort of like, oh yeah, and he made some interesting points in it, like I never thought about it like that. That'd be a really good bonus.
Yeah, I think it's obviously like because you're an entertainer, you want to entertain, and that's why you've reached where you are. Alhamdulillah, you know what I mean? Because that's the main thing that you solely focus on, and that's what you want to deliver, and that's what you provide. And obviously, like I just think that it's important. Like you said, it's a bonus. You're also like teaching people that may not be aware. And I don't know if you've seen that TV show, the School Swap one. Have you seen it? Well,
School Swap.
There's I think it was a local Sotley school, and they swapped with a school in Tamworth. There's a group of white school and an Asian school, and they swapped, and they were immersing in both cultures, and
nice.
It's just some clips on TikTok. You might see it. It's funny.
No, I haven't seen it. And, I'll try and look it up.
Yeah, one of the when they do like the families and stuff, like the white mom goes to the Asian family, and then she's like, they were like halal lettuce and stuff like that, and she's like, they have PlayStation and stuff. I didn't know they had PlayStation and do that and stuff like.
No, I have seen that. Yeah, I've seen that. I know what you're talking about now. Family swap, I think it is.
Yeah. It's the school swap, but they go to each other's house.
Oh right, okay, yeah.
The woman's like, they have PlayStation and stuff.
Yeah. Like, how do they think we lived?
Yeah, and it's just, I think it's important for people to learn about each other's cultures. Obviously, we're in the West now. I've grown up here. I was born in Pakistan, but I've grown up here, and just learn about cultures, and now it's immersing a lot where people are learning about different cultures. I think it's really important. And more on that point where you're talking about things that affect people. Obviously, recently the genocide that's going on in Palestine, and I see you advocate for a lot for it. And not everyone who has a platform does it. So I think I've always felt strongly about it. I think people have told me, like, once you get to a certain level, that's when you should do it. But because if you don't, when you do it when you're no one, people are not gonna, like, you're not gonna get opportunities. But I don't think that's true. If you stick to your values and morals.
Yeah, bro. Everyone at every level feels like that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't feel like I'm at the level that I want to be.
Mm-hmm.
But that hasn't stopped me from speaking out.
Of course.
Because what's written is written. Like, if by me speaking out, there's certain things I don't get, it is what it is. As long as I can pay my mortgage.
Yeah.
It's the main thing.
I think as well, like, it's like dodging a bullet, because if you speak on certain things and you get rid of people, like, you might lose like 10,000 followers or something because you posted about Palestine. But you don't want them 10,000 people.
Yeah.
What they're about.
Honestly, over time, since I've been sort of active on social media between now, there's lots of things I've been vocal about. Like in the Jeremy Corbyn days, I was very vocal and supportive. Yeah. And so people kind of know. So me speaking about Palestine won't come as a surprise to 99% of my followers. Yeah. There might be people you picked up in the last 6 months that... And it's not, you know what, it's not always so much about people are like, they don't want you to be vocal about Palestine. You might get people who just, they follow you for your comedy and not for your politics. And they're like, it's not really what, I'm not really into politics and that. So I don't really, this is not really what I want from my social media or whatever. And fine, if that's how they are, then that's not an issue with me. But I think most people who follow me, at least longer than 6 months ago, would know what my politics is. Yeah. Like, they wouldn't be surprised by what I support and what I don't support and what I advocate and what I don't advocate. I don't think anyone who knows me or has followed me for more than 5 minutes would be surprised by that. Yeah, I think it's obviously important to be like that as well, because that's part of who you are. And if you're showing that, you're going to attract the right people. If you're authentic to yourself, and you talk about all the time, like, authenticity is the key. Yeah. Like, that's what you believe in, and that's right for you, and certain people will buy into it, and that's how it is. Yeah. But I just think like people with the platform, especially like normal people, whatever, like, you should do it. But if you have a platform, it's good to educate people and show them what it's about and what's going on. And that's with any conflict or anything going on. Yeah. Also, bro, I don't really... people who don't do it get a lot of criticism online. Yeah. And to be honest, I don't think you should force people into it. Yeah. Like, if they want to do it, do it. But if people are forced into it, there's not authentic anyway. Mm-hmm. Like, some people genuinely, they might be scared, or they might have circumstances that they're scared about, or there might be something, and if you feel like they're being a coward about that, just follow them quietly, man. There's no need to make a song and dance about it. Yeah. Like, I see people like going after certain people online. Why is so and so not speaking about it? Why is so and so being a coward? Just unfollow them, innit? You don't need to make a song and dance about it. There's no point forcing anyone to do it. And also, not everyone cares about everything. Mm-hmm. Like, there's probably stuff happening in like Central America, in Mexico or Haiti, or there's stuff happening now in like I can't remember off the top of my head where it's happening. Sudan was the one I'm thinking of. There's something else happening somewhere else as well, and I'm not across it. I don't know about it. I'm not posting about it, and so someone else might take issue with that. Going, look at this guy, he's giving it all that about Palestine. He doesn't even care about this issue. Like, and I'm like, well, it's not on my radar, innit? Mm-hmm. It's not. I haven't come across it. I don't know stuff about it. It's not even that I don't care. It's just literally, it's not in my. I don't see it. Yeah. And so I think it's great for the people who do speak out, and the people who don't speak out. Yeah. I don't really. I think if you've made a career out of speaking out about certain things, or you've made a career about being an activist, or you've made a career about sort of tapping into one type of community for your success and your money, then you probably should speak out. But I think if that's not what you do, and then you don't speak out, like, all right, at least they're consistent. Yeah, no, I agree with that as well. Like, I think obviously we might be trying to think, oh yeah, this person's not posting about this and that, but also on the flip side that you don't know what they're doing behind closed doors. There's also that as well. You don't know. Yeah, you don't know. Like Mufti Menk stays kind of quite politically neutral about a lot of stuff. He doesn't post a lot about political stuff. And then people have criticized him for that. But I'm like, you don't know what he's doing behind closed doors. And you don't know the influence he has. But also, not everyone can be a social media activist. Like Mufti Mek probably gets in spaces and behind doors that we would never get behind. And the reason he does that is because he's almost like a diplomat. Like your diplomats, they're not online doing this, having arguments with people and doing this and that. They're in rooms, like speaking to people. And so someone like Mufti Mek probably does do. He might not, I don't know for sure, but he probably does do that. Though he probably has access to people that we would not dream of having access to. He probably has all these like sheikhs and that on like WhatsApp and that, and he probably does speak to them about it. But just because he doesn't speak about it publicly doesn't mean he's not doing anything.
Yeah, of course, we don't know.
We don't know people's hearts, innit? Yeah. We don't know people's hearts and intentions. That's the thing. I think we've become a society that really, we constantly assume and we tell people what their intentions are and what their actions mean. But that doesn't mean that's the truth, though.
And because of social media, they just think that's all your life is, but that's just pictures.
And also, yeah, social media is also not real life.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so the next thing I wanted to touch on was, of course, with your comedy career, you've gone to a bit of acting,
Yeah.
And I watched one season, I won't say I watched all of it.
That's alright, bro.
I watched one season of it, I was going to watch the rest of it, I haven't caught up yet. But, so you've done a few other things as well. You know, you had your, I think you said you got a new show coming up, is it after 8?
Yeah, it's a stand-up tour.
Oh, it's a stand-up
Yeah,
tour.
so doing a stand-up tour, next year. Well, I don't know when this is going out. It could be this year. By the time this goes out, I don't know when it goes out, but 2024.
Okay.
So we're recording this in December. So either next year or this year if you're listening to it in 2024.
Okay, yeah. So, like I said, sorry, with the acting stuff, how was that? What was your first acting stuff that you did? Like,
you know what? My very, very, very first acting thing was when I was a kid at school, and do like a school play and that. But you know, since school, I've not really done anything. In 2015, I got given an opportunity by the BBC because the BBC were making 6 short comedy films for iPlayer about Ramadan, and so they gave 6 different comedians a commission, and so I was one of them. And they're literally between like 5-10 minutes, like a 5-10 minute thing. And I think I made mine about the day in the life of a fasting Muslim who's at work, and it's called The Fast and the Fool. And I'm playing a guy who's fasting. It's like the middle of Ramadan. He's a bit tired. He's a bit cranky. He's had to get up early. He's come to work. People are offering him donuts. His office crush is inviting him to lunch. He doesn't know how to turn her down. He goes to lunch with her. She's eating a salad. He's not eating anything. And then suddenly he realizes she wants him to pick a boyfriend up from the airport. And so he's like, oh, she's not interested. Yeah. And then he gets mad, loses his temper. And then slowly he realizes actually this isn't what Ramadan is about. It's about self-control and it's not about these other things and stuff. And like it was quite fun, and it's quite funny in places. So yeah, that was my first ever acting gig.
Mm-hmm. What did you think of acting like before doing that? Did you think like?
Bro, I don't know I could do it.
Yeah.
I don't know I could do it. I never tried it like properly. I mean, as in obviously since like primary school or something. So I didn't know that I could do it. Yeah. But it's kind of been quite natural.
Yeah. And then even one thing I wanted to ask as well, like, so when you on like Man Like Mobbing, like, you know, obviously it's comedy, like, you know, you say jokes and stuff, and obviously are those jokes some of them your own, or is it written beforehand? Yeah. So how do you?
Yeah, it's a mixture of two things. So obviously there's a script that we follow, but then we always chuck in our own stuff.
Okay. Because
we kind of feel like we know these characters. So we've all grown up with someone like 8, like a kind of guy like that. So I just think, what would he say in this situation? So even if it's not written exactly like that in the script, or it's not written in the script at all for 8 to be speaking at that moment, I just throw something in. And sometimes it makes it in the edit, sometimes it doesn't make it in the edit.
Okay.
Yeah, so stuff like that. So it's a mixture of the two. So it's like some of it's scripted. Also, the show is scripted, but then some of the jokes you might just think of yourself in that moment to just say, or you just add something in, even though it's not written down.
Okay. So like in terms of your acting, then like, would you say you're going to look into doing it more? Or
yeah, bro, I'd love to do some more stuff. If anyone's casting, I'm available. I'd love to do more stuff, bro. But it's like job interviews. Like you go to the casting or whatever, you go to the auditions and you get it, you don't get it, and it's hard, man, because there's so many other talented people going for the same role and stuff. So it's tricky sometimes.
Okay. How do you find it different to like just doing your stand-up stuff? Would you find it, say, is more difficult, or is something completely different?
Yeah, it's completely different, bro. Because like with acting, you know, you have to be a lot more patient. Because there's often only one camera. So imagine just doing this whole podcast where for an hour the focus is on me and I'm giving the answers, and then for the second half, then we have to record it again, the whole thing again, but camera's facing you now, and then you got to ask your questions, and then you got to do a 2-shot, so you get one camera where there's both of us in the frame, and we got to do the whole thing again. That's what acting is.
Okay.
You have to have bare patience. People think that there's like 4 or 5 cameras, there's one camera, and so every angle you see. So say you got a 5-minute scene where we're having, say this is 2 of us in the scene, in this room, and this is for a TV show. So there's one angle from here, from behind my shoulder, where you just see a bit of my ear, and I'm talking to you. And there's one from behind you, and then there's a 2-shot there, and then they might do one more wider shot, and you have to do all of that one at a time.
One at a time.
Yeah, and for every scene you do like 20 takes.
Crazy. That is
so
a lot.
20 takes this way, 20 takes this way, and 20 takes that way.
Yeah, must be hard. It must be hard to stay in character, no?
Yeah, it's hard to stay in character, but it's also hard to keep it funny as well. Because when you say the same thing, by the 5th time you say it, let alone the 60th time you say it doesn't feel funny anymore. Yeah. Even though it might be because it gets edited later, but to you it doesn't feel funny. So you have to keep going, and then that's the director's job to keep your performance energized and stuff. Where stand-up is just you go there, you tell your jokes, go home.
Yeah, must be like, I just think it must be drained. I don't know if you've seen that clip of Leonardo DiCaprio when he's in Wolf of Wall Street, and he's and then he just switches on. He's like a robot, and it's like, bro, like, wow, it sounds crazy. Like he's so focused in that moment. He just switches it on. And there was another clip, I think, of one of the actors who was in Top Boy talking about Kano, and he's like, he doesn't talk to anyone. He just goes there. He does it. He's just so focused on it. And I can imagine
that also makes sense for his character.
Yeah,
because his character is such a knobhead and so intense. I think Kano was the best thing in Top Boy. Yeah. But his character is so intense.
Yeah, I didn't like him, even though he's got my name Sully, but I don't like him.
No, Sully's the best character though.
Yeah.
Like, even though he's so intense, because the character is so intense and such an introvert and hates everyone, then Kano has to kind of be in that mindset. You can't be like, well, jokey, and then be like, oh. He needs to stay mentally in that
mental
mode,
strength.
so that the character then comes across more real.
Yeah. That's what I was going to talk about, like mental strength. I think it can drain you, because if you're not, it's obviously his experience as well now, but it can drain you a bit. Like, for example, like I'm doing this podcast. Sometimes I would do 2 or 3 in a day, and loads of people do I can't do it. I just can't do it. I can't focus. If I do this one now and then I go with someone else, I'm not the same person. I don't have the same energy. It'll still be okay-ish, but I just don't have the same energy. I'm a bit drained. You know, one podcast is enough for me till the next time, and I won't like. I don't know. I can't explain it like that, but for yourself as well. Like when you do stand up, have you ever done like multiple shows in a day? And how's it been for you, like energy wise? So
generally, we call it doubling or tripling, where you kind of jump from one show to the next. But bro, it's 20 minutes at a time. When you're doing that, it's 20 minutes at a time. There are times where I've done like a full show twice in the same day, and by the end of the second show, you're drained. So that's like an hour and a half each show, and then you're drained. But when you're doing 20-minute spots, then it's fine. Like I think in Edinburgh, when you go to the Fringe Festival, you can do like 10 shows in one day. So but then they're like 5-10, anywhere between 5-10 minutes. So like your own show might be an hour, and then you're just jumping on other people's shows and doing 10 minutes here and there. Yeah. So it's not like you're doing 10 1-hour shows or 10 20-minute shows. So yeah.
On the flip side, but when you do accomplish that, it's a good feeling after.
Yeah,
you've done it. You're drained, but you're like,
oh,
got it over, done with.
What a day. You feel like you've had a proper day at work.
You're gonna feel like that today. 2 podcasts and your shows.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the last thing I want to touch on. So of course we spoke about your career-wise. You know what you've been doing. What was the job that you was doing when you was doing this part time?
So I was civil servant at the Home Office.
Okay, yeah. So what would you say, like, for our kind of Asian people that are looking to do something that's maybe out of the ordinary, or maybe doing, going to business or whatever, because there's a lot of entrepreneurs maybe watching this. Could be anything. It doesn't have to be comedy. It doesn't have to be owning a business. It could just be anything. What's kind of word of advice you give them in terms of coming from Asian and growing up where you grew up and having those like kind of people around you? What kind of advice would you give to someone?
Yeah, I think some of the stuff that we've spoken about, like shut out the negativity, take your risks, be patient. Don't expect overnight success. It can happen, and that's great if that happens for you. Alhamdulillah. But for the common thing is for that not to be the case. So stay patient, persevere, keep working hard, and be resilient to setbacks. Because you'll get setbacks, and then let me tell you that success won't be worth it without setbacks. If you just go from A to Z with no barriers in between and no setbacks, yeah, you still feel successful, but that person who's worked hard and taken slightly longer and fallen down and gone backwards to go forwards and climbed a mountain and come back down, fallen off, given up, started again, when they get to that Z, they'll feel so much more than the person who's just gone from A to Z. It's like a stroll in the park.
Yeah, I've realized that as well through experience. Like when I'm going through a really bad day at work, I'm just thinking, okay, I'm in a shit situation right now, but I just think this is going to teach me so much. I'm going to learn something from it.
It's good mindset.
And it's everything happens for a reason, and that's how I live my life. Because everything,
Really,
obviously, we believe everything's written.
Yeah, man.
Everything's already written for us.
Everything is written. You're just here to put the ink on the paper.
Yeah, you're finding your path, and there's no wrong or right path. You find it, you go through with it, and you come.
Yeah, that's the thing. People. I think it's a saying: comparison is a thief of joy. Unfortunately, because we live in the social media age, we can't help but compare ourselves to other people, especially in your own field, whether that's comedy or entrepreneurship or in property development like you do. You can't help but compare yourself to people in your own field or people in your own family who might do something slightly different but have become more of a success of it. You can't help but compare yourselves to that. Comparison is a thief of joy. They're running their race, you're running your race. I remember, bro, like I look at some people in my family and they've got the whole package, this was before I was married, like wife, kids, this and that. And I'd be like, oh man, it'd be nice. I can't wait till I have that. That'd be really nice, man. I'm really, really happy for them. And I really like that for myself as well at some point. And they look at me like, oh, look at this guy getting to do this job, getting to travel here and there, no worries in his life, no stresses. But they don't see the lonely nights in hotels where you're on your own. When you travel somewhere, you don't get to enjoy the city that you're in because you literally get in, shower up, go to the show, get something to eat, go back to your room, and then you're on your own. You got no one to share that success with. So as exciting as my life can be sometimes, you don't see that part of it. The 6 hours driving to go somewhere. That's your day is gone.
Yeah,
it's unproductive time that's been thrown away because you can't do anything in that time because you're driving. You have to drive. You might take the odd phone call. You can listen to a podcast. But you can't do anything super productive in that time. And then go and drive 6 hours back the next day. There's another 6 hours gone. People don't see that.
I couldn't put it any better, bro. Like to be honest, like the comparison, of course, like we spoke about social media, and that's a lot of where it comes from. Just seeing other people, and I think a lot of people are guilty of also, pushing that kind of narrative. When they show certain lifestyle or show certain things to push and get these like young people growing up, they get indoctrinated in that thinking. I want this and it's going to come quick and fast, but nothing comes quick and fast and you don't see what's behind.
And
you're just going to have that mindset.
All of that is a lie, bro. Yeah. All of that is a lie. Most of it anyway. Most of it is a lie, man. No one's living that life.
Yeah.
No one.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's all we have time for today. I had a few more things I want to talk about, but you have to get to your show. So I'll let you go, inshallah. Thank you for coming down, brother. Inshallah. I appreciate it. I've done 2 podcasts today. Hopefully you can smash out your show as well now, inshallah.
Like and subscribe. And buy tickets to my show next year. It's on sale, tezilyas.com. Birmingham show should be on sale soon. Okay. What other locations you got all around UK? All over the UK, bro. From Glasgow all the way down to Canterbury and everywhere in between. Bradford, Blackburn, London, Leicester, Nottingham, Manchester, Cardiff. Nice. Everywhere. We'll leave a link for Tez's website down below as well. So if you want to book your tickets, get them now. But thank you guys for watching and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.